Okay, here we have sample number 1. The picture on the left right here is the original picture out of the camera, which I'm basically facing the sun. That's the sun there. This ridge back here is about at least a mile away. As you can see, the sky is all blown out. I managed to bring back most of the clouds, but it's still blown out here. But probably be impossible to save much more with the sun being right there. But it actually brought in some details through here. Got better details of the mountain ridge. And right there's the information of the photo. That one. And here we are back to this is what it turned out after I fixed it. So I managed to pull in most of these clouds, and if you look back in here, lots of detail. Even back up in the mountain range you can see detail. I think I had the focus point right around here somewhere, but if you look real close, the computer's slow. Let me zoom back in. There we go. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, that's quite a bit of detail for a mile away, and for being blown out in the original photo. I mean, it looks pretty good to me, actually. Looks real good. And then we get back up into the sun here. And there's the clouds. I mean, for what it is, I recovered this photo pretty good, in my opinion. It looks good to me. I mean, for the 6D Mark II not having any dynamic range, it looks like it has a little bit of dynamic range to me. So there we have it on that one. Okay, here we are on to the next sample photo in the same field, but I turned to my left a little bit so the sun would be about at my 4 o'clock. You can see kind of the shadows of the sun going that way. Of course, the sky is all blown out. Once again, I zoomed this lens into 35mm. The ISO's at 100. I have the aperture still at f4 and 1/20th of a second shutter speed. So I actually was trying to let in most of the light as I could, but I did have the shutter up a little high. Anyways, I managed to pull in the sky and all the clouds. I got a lot more detail back here. And actually a lot more detail everywhere. This ridge right here is probably a half a mile away. That mountain tip right there is a good mile, at least. Probably more. That's probably about a mile up on top of there. Let's look at the... Okay, there we go. Okay, that's the original here. This is the recovered photo. And I mean, look at the detail back in here. I mean, every review I've seen on YouTube for the 6D Mark II just constantly complaining that there was very little dynamic range. I'm seeing a lot of dynamic range. Look at the cloud recovery. Let's go back. No clouds. You can't even see any clouds there. Look at all the clouds. Pulled them right back out. Got the shadows from the clouds in the hills. Let's zoom in on it a second here. Look at that. That's a lot of detail for almost a mile away. Looking up closer, look at that. That's that far away. Look at the detail in that barn there. The old chicken barn. Plenty of dynamic range. Plenty of detail. Not perfectly sharp, not a lot of noise, but I mean, this looks good. Zoom back out. That's a pretty photo there. For a blown out picture, it turned out pretty good. And let's go on to the next one. Okay, on to the next photo. We'll do one more overexposed picture, and then I'll show you one underexposed. Well, okay, let's stretch the dynamic range out on this 6D Mark II. That little spot right there is a lake. This that you can barely see is a mountain range, and this has got to be 20-25 miles away. That lake is probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 miles away. Let's test out this dynamic range of this 6D. Okay, here's the fix. This one isn't overexposed like the first two I showed you, but I mean, look at the recovery of this in the detail. Let's look at the photo. Tell me the 6D has crappy dynamic range. I don't believe it. There's the original, the fix. Okay, let's do the zoom trick here. Let's look in 7 miles away. Look at that. I mean, it's noisy and it's not crisp, but I mean, you're talking 7 miles away. This is 20 miles away. These clouds are 20 miles away. At least. That line right there is at least 20 to 25 miles away. This is probably 10 maybe. This is probably 7 miles away. Recovered all these clouds. Look at the detail back in there. You know, 20 miles away. Let's go back to the original. Okay, let's go zoom back. Go back. I mean, you can't see nothing back there. It's just a haze. Look at that. That's definitely at least 20 miles away. Shot at ISO 100. I had the aperture, the f-stop turned down a bit to f8, and the shutter at 125. So I did change the settings a little bit on it, but the recovery on this photo is awesome. Look at that. For miles and miles away. Totally killer picture there. As far as I'm concerned, that's great dynamic range for what it, I mean, I'm sure 5D Mark IV would be a lot more crisp, but I mean we're talking a modified 6D. You know, entry-level full frame camera, 6D Mark II. That's pretty darn good, in my opinion. That's a beautiful picture. Okay, let's go to underexposed and see how it does. Okay, here we have an underexposed photo, which is all black down in here. All the way through here it's all black. You can't see nothing. Even back in here you can't see nothing. Back in here you can't see nothing. Okay, and it's recovered like this. Okay, for the 6D Mark II not having any dynamic range, look at all that recovered detail everywhere. I mean, throughout the whole photo. This is probably not the best example because, I mean, it's not quite in focus. I mean, I just took a bad picture, but it's the only one I had to show you right now of how dark it is and how you can bring out pull out the detail out of the shadows. I mean, here's the, you can see it's not quite focused real good. I mean, it's not too bad, but I mean, zoom in. I mean, it's a little noisy, but I mean, I did have the aperture, the f-stop at 16, which I should have had it turned down a little lower than that, or opened up more than that. But I mean, it's not bad. It's usable, in my opinion. Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, the 6D Mark II is a damn good camera, in my opinion. I don't know why everybody's complaining about it. I mean, it's not a high dollar full frame camera. I mean, if it was, if the 6D worked like a 1D or a 5D Mark IV, I mean, it wouldn't be as cheap as it is. As far as I'm concerned, it's a damn good camera, and I'm happy with it. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. Talk to you later.